Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Learn with Jason. Today on the show, we have Brandon Roberts. Brandon, thank you so much for spending time with us today. How you doing?
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. We just figured out that I broke the Learn with Jason site recently, and
Mhm.
so I'm watching the fix push to production right now. So
That's
it's
that's always interesting.
it's going great for me. Um, wait a minute, I fixed you. Oh boy. Okay. Well, it's still broken, but we'll deal with that. So what I'm gonna do is I'll post everybody to some links here. But I broke the live captioning on the homepage today, everybody. So we'll have to go directly to the actual scene of the live captioning iframe if we need it today. So let me find that. And while I'm looking that up, Brandon, for folks who aren't familiar with your work, do you want to give us a little bit of a background on yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'll give my elevator pitch. My name's Brandon Roberts. You can follow me on Twitter at Brandon T Roberts. There, I have a lot of fun on Twitter. I talk about sports. I block people sometimes just for fun. If they mention certain words, I do open source. I maintain a couple of open source projects, one of which we'll talk about today. And I'm also a developer advocate at Narwhal, where we build some cool stuff there that is open source also. The main thing there being NX, which he had a previous show about that, which is an open source project, open source build framework for building applications of many types. So that's one of my another project that I work on also, which I'm good. But yeah, glad to be
Nice.
here.
Yeah, yeah. Now I'm afraid I'm gonna get blocked because I don't know what the words are.
Oh, I'm sure the chat will let you know.
Great, great. This is gonna
Yep,
go good for me. I'm gonna get blocked midstream.
there you
So,
go.
but so I'm super excited to talk today because we're talking about something that I have known about for years and have been completely intimidated by for years, which is reactive state management.
Hmm.
Um, when we get into reactive state management, it starts to feel magical to me. And typically, my response to magic is to run away, try to kill it with
Yeah.
fire. I respond like a 14th century villager to anything that feels like magic, right? Um,
Hmm.
so maybe you can help demystify it today. That's what I think I'm excited the most for. Is we're gonna peek behind the curtain, see how the magic is made. So can you talk a
Yep.
little bit about what is reactive state management? What happens in that style of app?
Right. Reactive state management and I'll talk about this mostly in the context of Angular, of course, but Angular is built on top of, or Angular uses RxJS, which is a reactive library that uses observables as its primary way of handling events. But being reactive in that frame of mind is more declarative than using a more declarative approach than using an imperative approach. So we
Mm,
deal a lot with functions and a lot of functional programming is used in RxJS and use of a lot of some, and this is where some of the things come in like operators. But the main thing is like the observable itself, which gives you a easy way of like a primitive to listen to some events, whether they be synchronous or asynchronous, handle listening for those events that happen over time and giving you a way to tear down listening to those events. So the reactive part of it itself in Angular is to kind of take that model and use that to manage the state of your application over time. Like if we were just talking about like calling functions, then uh, there are easy ways to get into like race conditions using those kind of using in some cases you can run into race conditions that way, but the react using the reactive way is more like say a declarative where you are kind of mapping out what you want things to do once you based on some event or some action that happens.
hmm
Uh, and that is what we kind of strive to for, in reactive applications in Angular, to where you want your everything to be mostly a stream that happens like over time, as opposed to
Okay.
yeah.
So to repeat this back to make sure that I have the mental model right. When you're talking about observables, which are kind of at the bottom of this model,
Mm-hmm.
what you're doing is you're basically taking an piece of memory, an object or something, and you're saying, I want you to look at this, and I'm going to send events to it. And like,
Mm-hmm.
so this is sort of like having a click handler, like
Yeah.
we're doing like an add event listener, and when a click happens, we can perform some kind of function. This is similar in concept, but what we're saying is I have some data, and when a change
Mm-hmm.
happens, I want things to be subscribed to that change so that I can update my UI based on what changed in the data.
Yes. Yep. That's
Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
That's
right.
exactly it. It's pretty close comparison to, like, it's like an event handler, because you get like I said, you can add an event listener. You can tell it to listen for a certain amount of time, and then you can say remove that event listener. So that, yeah, the concepts definitely line up there.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So that immediately makes it feel less intimidating. Like I know how to do a click handler. I can write,
Mhm.
different events on the DOM. So let's just apply that knowledge to data. So when you're talking about this, you said that in Angular this is a popular approach. I think I've seen NgRx all over the place.
Mhm.
What like why do you think this approach holds water? Like what do you think is the like real benefit here, and why it is such a strong way to manage your data versus other approaches that you've seen?
Yeah, for me, the and some of the other things that are, like I said, RxJS provides in general is, like I said, that the setup, listen, and tear down is one thing.
Hmm.
If we're just kind of talking about it in general, if we're like comparing it to something like a promise, uh, promises are promises are eager versus observables that are more lazy. That would be one thing. They're also uh, observables have the ability to be canceled, as opposed to a promise where it once you start up a promise, you essentially have to wait until that promise emits a value. And observables are, like I said, events or data or things that happen over time, as opposed to a promise, which is more of a one shot deal there, that you kind of listen to and observe as it
I
happens
gotcha.
right there.
Okay.
So those are the if like I said, just thinking in general about it, those are some things that we can point to make a comparison per se. We're not saying that one is, promises are definitely less to comprehend, I would say, in general, just for if you're used to just things that are like baked into the web platform. So, but it does give you some differences and advantages there, I would say, that are important if you're working inside that mind frame, because it is a bit of
Hmm.
is a bit of a shift there, I would say.
I get you. I understand. No, I think I like. So this is kind of an interesting idea, because what we're basically saying is that instead of having to think through all the different states of our data and being ultra explicit about exactly
Mm-hmm.
what's possible and writing all of that logic, we can instead say we want to be, oh, okay, and now I understand how it got named. We can be reactive to our data,
Mm-hmm.
and when data changes, we can just say, I've observed a change. I'm going to respond to that change.
Right.
Um, and that that also feels like, I don't know, it's a very human way to think about data instead of a computery way where it's like
Mm-hmm.
I've built the pipeline, and the data must flow inside of this pipeline exactly as I've defined. We're instead saying, like, here's a stream of data. If you want to listen for different events on this data, you can
Mm-hmm.
like pick those up, and like anybody who uses those, like, so when data gets picked up from a stream with these events, is that something where sequence matters, or is it like if I have 100 pieces of UI that are all listening to the same event,
Mm-hmm.
the order that they all grab data, even if they modify it a little bit, are they kind of dependent on each other, or is this kind of independent? Like the event goes out, they all update based on that, and if one of them
Mm-hmm.
changes the data, it actually has to go emit a new event.
Yeah. So and this, like I said, we'll get more into this with NgRx, but yeah, the all the listeners of that stream of data or property would get that event at the same time, or as it goes through and emits that event to all the listeners.
Mm-hmm.
So if depending on how you're structuring that data, if there wouldn't be somebody necessarily modifying that, a subscriber wouldn't be modifying that data along the way, depending on how you have it set up. So each one of them will kind of operate independently on it. Now you can share those streams amongst many listeners, but if we're in the context of like global state or local state, if we're listening to those streams, and each one of them kind of operates independently, and you can, like I said, subscribe to that and do different things based on those different events. So there is some safety there, and that you're not going to, it's not going to be unpredictable to what you get on, unless, depending on, in this concept, it kind of gets into operators or NrxJS, how you modify that kind of pipeline or that sequence that happens.
Okay.
But yeah, that's something that in itself, the observable and the listeners of it all get that piece of data. So
nice. And do you find that, like, is there a certain type of app that's better suited to this, or do you find this being like, now that you've got this mental model, this is just the way you think about data?
Yeah, it is more the way I think about data now, and just because I'm more comfortable with it. Like I said, if you're used to using or kind of like building your own kind of like reactive stream, or building your own streams that kind of simulate that, then it's a little different. But yeah, definitely helps to think of that mind frame of, and I'm going to quote the founder of NgRx, who has said this many times, that everything is a stream. If you start kind of like thinking in that mind frame, then it makes working with that with RxJS and Angular makes it easier if you kind of embrace that way. So
nice. Okay. I get it. Yeah. I mean, I feel the same way. Like when I started thinking about, there's a lot of ways that I write code now where that's just the way that mental model that I have now, and it makes things make sense. And so, all right, I'm really excited. I think at this point, probably what makes the most sense is to actually start doing a little bit of code. We can see whether or not we can get me thinking in streams. So let's jump over to pair programming mode here. And this is the deploy that hopefully fixes the homepage. Let's see if it works. Nope, still got some errors.
See, you're doing the Friday deploy thing on Tuesday.
I mean, we're literally fixing it live. Okay, so here's what we've got. I have this is the iframe that I embed on the homepage. So if I get rid of the extra font stuff that I did here that doesn't copy paste very well, I can send this to everybody. Here. This is the live captioning for the show, and that is made possible. We've got Rachel with us today from White Coat Captioning. Thank you so much, Rachel. That's made possible through the generous support of our sponsors, Netlify, Fauna, Hasura, and Auth0, all of whom are kicking in to make the show more accessible to more people, which I appreciate quite a bit. So head over to this streamtext.net player if you want to follow along with the captions today, and I'll figure out what happened on the homepage here before our next stream, so this will actually be fixed. Also, while you're clicking on things on the internet, make sure you go and follow Brandon on Twitter. Like he said, he's a good follow. Lots of good information on there, and you can try to figure out how to get blocked.
Yeah, if they follow my Twitter long enough, if they haven't already, they'll quickly find out what the keyword is. So yeah, it's a fun game to play now.
Great. I hope that I win that game instead of losing it. So and today we're also going to be talking about NgRx. This is the core of our focus today. And I'm gonna just shut all that down so that we have tab space. Okay, so here I'm ready to create a new project. So if I want to get started and learn this, what should my first step be?
Yeah, so first we'll need to create a new Angular project, and I use NX, so that's my go-to. So if we go to nx.dev, we should be able to go to the site there
Okay.
and copy that command. Yeah, that npx create nx workspace. We'll start there, and if
Okay.
you enter that, then it will give us some name that just we want to have for this show or for this project anyway.
Okay. So I'm going to call this reactive state NgRx.
Yep.
And
And then we can go
look at all these
down
options.
to, yeah, it has a lot of presets. So yeah, we'll go with the
Yeah.
Angular.
Okay.
And we'll start there.
Application
And
name. Probably
yeah,
just name it the same thing.
you can just name it My App or whichever, whatever your preference is. It can be
Is
the same.
this one like a slug or is this like plain text?
It's just plain text. Yeah, it'll be the component, or sorry, it'll be the selector for the component. It'll be the selector for the component. So it could be like My App or just one word. There won't be multiple words.
Oh, I got it. I got it. I got it. Okay, so let's call this um like that kind of thing.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Well, let's spell it right though. Okay, here we go. And do you have any preference?
CSS is fine.
Okay. NX Cloud.
Yeah, we don't need that for this one, so you can just click no on that one,
Okay.
and then we'll go through and create that workspace there. So it's usually is pretty quick about installing that, but if it takes a little bit here, then we can kind of, like I said, talk about NgRx more in general and kind of like the background of it as a project and how it's kind of evolved over time as a state management library or it's a set of libraries at this point.
Okay.
But yeah, that is where we'll be.
All right. And so, I mean, maybe this is worth doing a quick shout as well to NX. We have done a little bit of work with NX in the past. We had Adam Barrett on the show. So if you're interested in how NX works and what we just did using that, this would be a good episode to watch. But the short version, maybe you've got an elevator pitch. What's the short version? What is NX?
Yeah, so NX is an open source build framework that does a few main things. It maps out the dependencies of your project, so it knows how your projects connect together. It has support for generating projects for many ecosystems. We support Angular, React, and Node are the main ones.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one is it does like local caching. So if you are building a project, or say that you never build the same thing twice. So if you build a project and you then run that same build again, then it will immediately give you the results for that. And then
Nice.
Yeah, you can kind of share that across your team or your organization. So it kind of scales up from there. But it's a build framework for monorepos and helps you build applications at scale. So that's the elevator pitch for NX anyway.
Cool. Okay. And so I really like it. What I like about it is that you've got a really nice flow in NX for if I'm working on something that would be an npm package, but it doesn't really make sense to publish it as an npm package. NX has such a good flow for like making it feel like I'm using an npm package, but not forcing me to actually publish it. I think that's such a great like little bonus of using it.
Definitely so.
Okay, so now that I've got this, it looks like I don't have NX installed globally. Am I going to need that?
You could just use npx if we need to
Okay.
run any, npx, and then nx if we need to run any commands or anything. But yeah, that should be.
Okay, I just realized I put this in the wrong place, so I'm just going to move this whole folder up a level, and then we're going to move into it. Okay, so let's open this thing up and take a look at what's inside.
Yeah.
So inside of our project, we have. So this is already a little bit different from most projects that I've seen, because I don't see like a source folder, right? There's apps, libs, tools. So what are we looking at here?
Yeah, the apps the apps is mainly where we'll be working out of today. So yeah, usually if you're having one project, it'll just be under a source folder. But if we had multiple ones, then they would be you could have multiple apps. And like you said, talking about the kind of like the internal npm packages packages within that workspace, you would have libraries there. So,
Hmm.
but the app is where like I said, where we'll focus on today for. Then
Great.
we'll just kind of create everything inside that reactive state application there.
Okay.
And then we
Perfect.
have the source. Yeah, then we have the source folder, which is a little more familiar.
Okay. And so this is like the NX monorepo setup where
Yeah.
apps is one thing, and then if I have like a library that I wanted to share, but that's not necessarily a package, and then I'm not
Yep.
100% sure what tools are, but so this is like the organization, and then down in here, this is like in a normal project that you just kind of spun up from scratch. What you would
Hmm.
end up doing is this would be your whole folder. So
Yes.
this end-to-end testing that's out here, the libraries, the tools, and then all the NX config that'll let us. Gee, it comes
Yeah.
with tests already running and all
Yeah.
sorts of.
You get.
That's
Yeah. You
great.
definitely get a lot of the. You definitely get the jest configured and Cypress out of the box. So whether you were doing
Hmm.
Angular or React or whatever your project is, then those would come pre-configured for you.
Nice. Okay, and it looks like I'm missing a few things that I need, so I probably need the Angular thing. Do I need this NX console, do you think?
Uh, you can, but you don't. We won't need it for this. It's just a GUI on top of the
Oh, okay.
NXCLI. Yeah, so
Yeah, if we're
it's
not going to use
more
it today,
convenience.
I
Yeah,
won't install it. But the Angular language service seems like it'll be useful. Probably need to
yeah,
be able to see what's going on there.
yeah.
Um,
It definitely gives you some good helpers for your templates and things. So that
Great.
would be helpful.
Okay. So default, what we've got here. Let's see how much Angular I remember, because Angular is definitely not something I have a ton of experience in.
Hmm.
So what we've done here is we're pulling in app module from app.module here. And this is the root of our code,
Hmm.
which pulls in app component.
Yeah,
And
app
that pulls in the
component.
template and the CSS.
Yeah, so at its core you have modules there, and this is just the template that we'll just replace when we
Mm-hmm.
get to that part. But yeah, there's the top level app module, which Angular itself has what we call ng modules, which are a way to uh, kind of wire up your components and make the application aware or parts of your application aware of components and providers. And so this is just like the top level one that kind of like bootstraps the application and gets your browser level dependency set up there. And the app component is just that's the main component that'll start up when we start serving the app. So it has the, like I said, ng modules and components there are the, I guess, the main things that you have in an Angular application itself.
Gotcha. Um, I'm also seeing that my overlay tweaked out here. So let's refresh that page.
Okay.
There it goes. Now people can see things. Um, all right. So good. So then
Yep.
inside here in this HTML, this is basically where we'll kind of
Yeah. So you can clear.
start.
Yeah. Yeah. We can clear out. Well, yeah. Need to add the. I guess before we go next, we can add the NgRx, a couple of NgRx packages
Oh, okay.
first. Yeah. So if you install at NgRx and then slash, I don't know what your preference is, if you like to do the multiple packages at once or the
Oh,
want to
we
do
can do
them one by
multiple
one.
packages at once. That's all right.
Okay, cool. You'll start out with store. So that's the main Redux package, and we'll do at NgRx slash store dash dev tools.
Dev
And
dash tools or dev tools like this.
dev tools, all one word, yes.
Okay.
And the last one will be at NgRx slash effects.
Effects.
Yes, EFF, yeah, EFFECTS, yep.
Okay.
And that's it. That'll be what we need.
Got it. Here we go. And so you said the store, you said Redux. So is this using Redux under the hood?
It's not using the Redux library itself under the hood. It was inspired, the original project was inspired by Redux, but it doesn't, there's no concrete relationship between the two.
Gotcha.
I call them cousins because they're like close enough to close enough to in functionality, or like the idea of or both projects is close enough, but not exactly like siblings. So yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, I understand. Yeah. All right. So so now we've got the NgRx store, dev tools, and effects.
Mhm.
And I'm going to ask you questions about what each of those does as we pull them in here.
Yep.
Um, if I want to just run this project so we can see where we're starting and
Mhm.
and kind of mess it around, is this, do I run like npm
Yeah.
nx
Yeah. npx nx serve
nx
would be the
serve?
command there.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh wait, I messed something up. npx nx.
Yeah. npx nx, or yeah, npm run nx serve would most likely work also. Yeah, I saw a few people in the chat. I saw Will Johnson, shout out to him. AJC, shout out to him too.
Yeah,
Um,
I saw Ben came in with a raid. Thank you so much for the
mhm.
raid, Ben. Um, saw Mike Hardington in earlier.
Yep.
Lots of good folks in here today. Thank you all for hanging out with us.
Yeah. Okay. So we have the app running now. We can just go to localhost 4200 and open that link up there to see the app that it starts up with.
Okay, so here's a nice.
And
Oh, this is a good starter too because it's like got. Oh, you confused about how this works? Like, here's a million ways to go learn more information.
yeah,
This is great.
yeah,
So
but yeah, we can nuke. Yeah, we'll end up just nuking all of that. But yeah.
okay, so for now, I'm gonna just boom, gone. We have an
Mhm.
empty file now, and I can put in like hello chat. Come out here. Does this hot reload? Oh, it hot reloads. That's beautiful.
There we
Okay,
go.
so we have a nice development environment. We've got things running, and now I'm ready. I wanna make something reactive. So what should I do first?
Okay. So what we're going to do here is we're going to start out with a pretty straightforward example. We're going to use a counter,
Okay.
and we're going to use the store to update the state of that counter or the value of it. So we'll
Okay.
keep it straightforward. So if you want to just create a button, and we'll do the we could do the counter value there, or we could just create a div kind of with the counter value in there. And then we'll create three buttons for incrementing. We'll create three buttons: one for incrementing, one for decrementing, and one for resetting the value of the counter.
Oh, okay. I got you. I got you.
Yeah.
So let's do. We'll have our value will be here, or maybe we should do it. Let's make it. Let's keep it in the spirit of the show, right? So we'll set it up as a count of boops, and then we'll have
There you
a
go.
span where we can actually put that if we need to put it in an element, and
Okay.
then we will have a button to add a boop and remove a boop.
That works.
Unboop. I don't know if you're technically allowed under
All
the
right.
laws of physics to unboop, but we're gonna say today that you can. Um,
Mhm.
and what was the third one you said? You said add, increment,
We can
decrement.
and reset, but we could just do the add and unboop if that'll work. Either
Okay.
way.
Yeah. Well, let's start here, and then we'll, if we need to add more, we can. So
There we
this
go.
now gives us add boop, unboop. We've got
Hmm.
buttons now. Of these don't do anything. We just made them into the markup.
Yeah.
Uh, but at this point, I think we're actually ready to start doing stuff.
Yep. And there go the boops. So yeah, if we go into the app component.ts, and we're going to
App
define,
component.ts. Here we go.
yep, that one. And you can remove the title there,
Okay.
and we'll set value in this class named count. Yeah,
Count.
we'll name it count, and we just set it to 0. So yeah, if we go back into the app component there and replace the 0 with two sets of curly braces, yeah, there we go. So that'll be enough to start with there.
Ah. And then if I go in here and change this, like just to show that it's hooked up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Good.
that gives you
Okay.
a good
Perfect.
starting point. Okay, so we want to add boops, and we're going to add boops and unboop boops. If that if that's the way we're going to roll it.
Right.
Okay, so what we want to do to manage this with NgRx is we want to kind of set up the kind of the Redux flow here. So we're going to
Okay.
create a file called we'll call them we'll create a file called action or boop.actions.ts. Since we're
Where should this live?
you this can just live in the app folder. Yeah, you can
Okay.
just create it. Yeah, we'll just create it right there in line for
TS like that.
yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So what we want to do is define the events that we want to trigger here for the boops. So we have a function in NgRx called create action. So if you import or we can create, I don't know how much, yeah, we can import create action from at NgRx store.
Okay.
And this is, like I said, a utility function where we define the type and the event and the source of where this came from. So if we want to create a constant or we can export that. If we export that constant, we could say boop. We'll call it boop added.
Okay.
Yep. And then we'll set that to create action.
Oops.
And then we'll
create action.
Yep. And then inside there, we'll define a text string. And this is just a descriptor of the what we're doing here. Yeah, you can use boop added. We usually kind of break this up into an event and a source and an event. So we can put square brackets. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. So what's the format that you would use for this? You would do square brackets.
Yep. We would do square brackets, and we can call it boop. We can put boop in there, and then we just put added out on the side of it.
Like this, or like with no space?
Yeah, with the space is fine.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're just declaring these events that are happening in here. And this is just gonna, at the end of the day, this is just like a plain JavaScript object that we're using the create action with. So we'll have one for boop added, and then we can create one more action for unbooped or
we can probably do like removed so that it's a little more like a little easier to keep like on a convention here. So we've got one for added, one for removed. Okay.
Yep. Okay. So we have our actions in place there. And next we want to create the reducer that's just going to manage the state of that value. So next we'll go and create a different file called boop.reducer.ts. And you can just inline that also there.
Okay.
So we got create action, and then here's where we'll create the reducer that will just manage the count of boops that we have. So to create that, we have similar functions for create reducer. So if you import create reducer from NgRx store, yep. So we'll have that one, and for the export, we'll export a constant for initial state. And we'll just set it to 0.
Okay.
That'll just kind of mimic the initial value for what we have there.
Mm-hmm.
So that will, like I said, if we were building like a more complex object, then you could define an interface. But here we're going to keep it straightforward here. So next we want to create the reducer that's going to manage that value. So we're going to export another constant. For reducer, and so you can set that equal to create reducer, and open that up. And so the first argument there would be the initial state that we just defined.
Okay.
There, and then the next set of arguments will be the handlers. So each handler uses an on function that's also imported from NgRx store. So either you can import it first, or you can just type it out and let it.
Let's type it out, and it hopefully will autocomplete for me. So is this? It looks like it's a spread. So is that an array or?
Yeah, each one of the arguments after that will be the handler. So they'll be separate. They're just
Oh,
separate
I
arguments.
understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you just type on there, and then it will give you that import from NgRx store, and we could put that on a separate line there to just make it a little bit easier to read there.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, so inside of the on handler, we want to listen for these actions, the two actions that we define, or we'll start with the boop added action. So if we want to import that one, so the first argument or the first set of arguments is the actions that we want to listen to. So boop, we have boop added and boop removed are the two. So we only want to, on the boop add, we want to of course increment, and then we'll have one for boop removed.
Okay. So we've got these in.
Mm-hmm. So the next on the boop added, we'll put a comma there, and the actual handler for that action will be what we're defining next. So each, and this will just be a callback function that we have there. It'll be state of the, and optionally if the action itself has some additional data associated with or a payload, then we could manage that also there.
So yeah, so it would also give us the action itself.
Yeah, it also give you the action itself. Yeah, and like I said, if we added props to the action, we could use those too. But we're just dealing with the state right now. So we'll just open that up and return.
So I could just do like state +1.
Yes. Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
And then
on the boop removed, so that's all that we have to do for the handler there. And then the boop remove will be state -1.
Great. Okay, so now we've got initial state, we've got a reducer, we've got these actions that we can send and remove, and this feels like, you know, okay, this is all making sense to me. Whenever a boop gets added, we want to add one to the state. Whenever one gets removed, we want to remove one from the state. And we would probably want to do like this one. We'd probably want it. You can't go to negative boops, right? So we would go.
Yeah, you can just define if you want to, or how you want the logic to go in there. If you want to,
if it's less than or equal to 0, we can return 0. Otherwise, we can return state -1. That's horrible code, but let's all pretend that was clean and
look away, everyone, look away. Okay, now look back. Okay, so now we have the two main things there. We got the actions, we got the reducer, and now we want to wire this up to the store. So we'll register the boop counter in the store. So to do that, we'll go to the app module. Module.ts.
Module.ts is here.
Yeah, and this is where we set up like global services or global providers. I think React has something similar, or providers are kind of used that way in React.
So like this is where we're effectively at this level. We are wrapping app component with whatever we need.
Yeah. Okay. We're providing whatever the services are needed for the entire application.
Okay, so our store is going to go in this providers array.
Well, we'll add it to the imports.
Into the imports. Okay.
Yeah, it does have providers with it, but by convention, we'll register it using the store module.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, if we go into after that one, just add a comma there. And do I use this store module if you import the store module, there's a capital S store from import store module from NgRx store.
Okay, so we'll put in store module,
and then we'll add the dot for root, which is just a static method on the store module for root, and then we'll add that with an empty object just to start out.
Okay,
and one more thing we'll add is the store dev tools, and that's if you import that from the store import store dev tools module,
and that comes in from store dev tools.
Well, yeah, there'd be store dev tools module there.
Store dev tools module. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, we're keeping like I said, the ng module kind of keeping the ng module convention there. So it'd be
Okay.
store DevTools module dot instrument. And just what that does is if you have the Redux DevTools installed, then you'll be able to use the same Redux DevTools that you would use if you were using this in the React project or anything that can hook
Nice.
into the store DevTools there. You'll be able to see.
Do I have
you'll be able
that?
to see that.
I might have that. Apps. I don't think I have that. Okay. I'm not gonna try to install something else today. So but this is great.
Yeah, but that would be enough. So now we want to.
Oh, I do have it.
Yep, there you go.
Excellent.
Okay, cool.
Let me make this bigger.
There you go. Pops right up there.
Slick. Okay, so here's our store, like popping right up. And if I look at the raw, let's see, action state.
Yeah, we don't have any.
Oh, we made it empty. Yeah, that's right.
We haven't registered it yet. So
okay.
Yeah, if we go back to the store module for root inside that object, we can give the key of what we want this feature to be.
Okay.
So we can just call that boops, if you want to call it that, and then just import the reducer from the file.
Reducer from boop reducer.
Yep.
Okay.
And just what that does is, like I said, if we were using like Redux, you would use configure store, and then you would have your initial value for that particular slice or piece of state. So that it's just at the end of the day, the store is just one big object, and we're using the dev tools to just inspect that object there. But yeah, that extension has been out there for a long time. We definitely make good use of that. So
absolutely, yeah. And so it looks like you can use Redux DevTools in Chrome, Edge, and Firefox. I'm working in Edge, and it's working great. So now I can see we registered boops and we added in our reducer, and we've got it, right? So that's doing the thing we want. So does this mean, so at this point we've created actions, we created a reducer, and we've registered those as imports for our app component?
Yeah, we've registered the store as a global service. So we're looking at the global state management side of NgRx here. Okay. So yeah, now we can actually just use that. We can set up the store in the app component to handle that the state of that counter. So first we can see we can actually update the count in the store without having to actually reflect there first.
Okay.
So what we want to do first is to inject the store service, which is available globally because we registered it there. So if you import store imports the store service from NgRx store, a lot of stores. Well, it'd just be the store. Sorry, it'll just be the store. Yeah, I refer to it as a store service, but it's just NgRx store. Yep.
Okay.
So and then in the app component, we want to add it we want to define the constructor so where we can inject the store service.
Okay, and the way that you do this is
if you just type constructor, constr, and then we'll open that up, and then we'll add the store as an injected dependency. So inside of the parameters of the constructor, we're going to set that to a private property. And this is one thing that Angular does. It does have dependency injection. So we can say that, and if I want the store, I can define the store as a property. So we can just call it store, and then use the colon, and then use the store import that we imported from the top there. So yeah, it knows.
Okay.
Yeah. So because we registered the store, now it gets injected automatically into the app component there.
And so then let me see if I haven't written class-based stuff for a while. So if I remember correctly, what we've done here is we're declaring count on the class. So in the constructor, we'll default it to 0. That's okay. But here, what we want to do is get this store and set this, let me see, this dot count to store dot boops.
No, it won't be that. It won't be that straightforward
Okay. Okay.
because we have to subscribe to the store to get
Right.
values out of it. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Right. Because
yeah
it's an observable. Yeah.
yeah, the store itself is an observable of the state over time.
Gotcha.
Uh,
Gotcha.
yeah. So if we want to update that, well, yeah, we can subscribe to the well, we'll use one of the Angular hooks to subscribe to the counter. And so if we outside of that constructor, if you define another method there, another method in the class there called ng, lowercase ng, and then capital on, and then uppercase init or init with a capital I.
Okay.
So this is just a lifecycle hook that is called after the constructor is called.
Okay.
So here we just here we want to subscribe to the store so we can at least see the value getting updated. So next we want to say that we can subscribe to the store saying this dot store, and then we'll say subscribe.
Is it this
Or,
auto completed one here?
No, it won't be that one. We'll use these. We'll use the select. So if you say this dot store dot select, yep.
Okay.
And then that'll take a callback function, and then we'll say this. We'll say the state is a type of any, so it won't. So it'll just give us. Yeah, we'll say state is any, and then we'll say state dot boops. I believe that's what we named the count. Name the value for the piece of state there.
Oh, it does not like whatever I just did. There we go.
So state dot boops there. Yeah. Okay. There we go. And then after that, we actually have to subscribe to this observable so that it'll update the value of the count. So what we want to do next is do a dot subscribe on the end of that. Dot subscribe, and then the value is this will just be the value that comes out of the observable. So if we just use value as a name there and use a callback, open that up as a callback function. Yep.
Okay.
And then we can set the count on the class to that value.
Like that?
Yep. Okay.
All right. Okay.
So anytime the store is updated with that counter, then we will update the local value here. Now, like I said, we could get into the weeds of observables and subscribing and unsubscribing, but for this one, we'll just keep it straightforward. So next, we want to dispatch the action we kind of want to create this reactive loop within our global store of dispatching an action. So if we go back into the app component, well, let's stay in here for a second because we can do it a little more straightforward if we do it here. So if we go into if we define another method in here for add boop for the method there. Yep. And then what we're going to do is dispatch one of the actions that will update the state in the store.
Okay.
So we do this dot store dot dispatch.
Whoops, this dot store dot dispatch.
Yes. And then we can just pass the boop added event or action.
And this is the one that we're going to import.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. And we'll just call that as a function. So it'll just return.
Don't need whatever that
no,
was.
We don't want worker threads. That's a rabbit hole we don't want to go down this time around.
Okay.
So yeah, we got boop added, and then we want to call that as a function. Call boop added as a function.
Oh, outside.
Yeah,
there we go. That's what we want.
Yeah. And we'll go ahead and add use one for boop remove or a remove boop also. So we'll use the remove boop there and boop removed for the other event there. Okay.
Okay.
So we have those two actions there, the add and remove.
Okay.
And so then that will update the count in our update the counter in our on the page there.
Mm-hmm.
So that essentially that is what we need to for the global state is to make this reactive, where we can see so we have it hooked up to the dev tools. Anytime we dispatch an action, the it's going to receive that.
Right.
The reducer is going to receive that and update the state. And we're subscribing to that. We're subscribing to that value. So anytime that value gets updated, it'll automatically update that count.
Yeah, and I don't actually need this to be in a span, do I? It's just going to work, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
now we can call these because we've declared these in the component.
Yeah, we do need to add them to the template to using the click handler. So we're kind of connecting those two things together. So in the app component, Angular uses parentheses for setting up events.
Okay.
So we just use a click inside of there. Yeah, you should type click, and then what we want to do is call the. So we set up the event using the parenthesis, and then we'll set that to equals, and then we use double quotes to say what we want to do when that event happens. So here we just want to say add boop. Yep, and then we're getting some.
We get
Angular.
Auto.
Yep,
that's
Angular
slick.
language service is helping us out here.
Nice.
With add boop. So we'll call that method the add boop when we click on that, and then we'll have same one for remove boop. So we'll have to call those as methods.
They have to be called.
Yeah, they have to be called.
Okay.
And that it allows you to the click events. It gives you that information there with it. So if you had something you needed to do with that event, then that's where you could pass that event to the click handler or what it is. But you already got it. You already got it rolling there. So
yeah. Well, so I mean, this is slick too, because so check this out. Like we did, and this is like a standard like complaint that you'll hear about any type of Redux like implementation is like, oh, well, but what about the boilerplate? Okay, well, is that the word?
Hold on.
Is that the word?
Hold on one second. I got to go to Twitter real quick.
Damn it.
You fell right into the trap.
But this is like a standard complaint. People say like, oh, I don't want to have to write all this.
Yeah.
But looking at this, we didn't write that much. It's really clear what each piece is. And out the other side, we get this really declarative way of getting at what's happening. Okay, I know when I click this button, I'm going to add a boop. When I click this button, I'm going to remove a boop. And when we do that, we have freaking time travel. Like we can just go back and forth in our app and see where we were. That is incredibly powerful.
Yeah, we get all those same the same benefits, and usually some of the same complaints that we do with the pattern in general of boilerplate and being able to. But the time traveling does win some people over. So I mean, definitely give and take there.
This is one of those things that I think there's this sort of philosophical debate that happens, and I saw like Kat Marchand had a really good take on this too, where when you start looking at setups like TypeScript, when you start looking at setups like having these action dispatchers and these conventions, when you're first writing code, they feel like a hurdle. You want to get rid of those constraints, and you're like, oh, I'm feeling hemmed in by these TypeScript types. I'm feeling hemmed in by having to write all this boilerplate to get this code out. I'm feeling like hamstrung. I can't just get out there and create. But then when you go to maintain this, or you go to hand this off to your teammates, or you start to think, boy, I wish that this had more like structure to it, right? Like I wish it was easier to figure out what's going on.
I feel like you're trying not to say the word here without.
I'm trying. But I think that the real power of this that I've seen is that when you get to the point that you are actually trying to maintain software, if you have to go refactor something, you got to change out some code, you got to hand this off to a teammate, and you're going to go work on a different project, having types, having time travel, having this really clear structure makes it much easier to do that. Like as a developer, I can drop in and open up my dev tools and see, okay, so when I click this button, it calls this action. I can go search in the code and find where this is and figure out how it works. So that's the sort of thing that I think is, when like, sure, if you're working just this is an experiment, you're just trying to get something, work out an idea. Okay, maybe you don't need all of this. But if you're trying to build something that's going to live, this is going to help a lot.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of I think the reason why it's been more popular in the React ecosystem and it's popular in the Angular ecosystem, and I say this a lot is it's sometimes it's more about the process and the process and the pattern is
Hmm.
what people kind of gravitate towards. If you're working on, like I say, a big team and you have maybe people onboarding and offboarding a lot, and you want something that's predictable and that you can say, this is we didn't create this here. So this is
Hmm.
something that has been like battle tested outside of even outside of Angular and React and kind of flows back further than that.
Yeah.
uh, Something that you can use in that context to onboard, like I said, onboard team members with, or if you have people that are more comfortable with RxJS, which this is all built on top of RxJS, so the streams and the observables and everything are already just baked in. That they can, it will create, it's a way to create these streams for you, so that you don't have to worry about, am I creating the right one? Am I using all the,
Right.
we haven't, like I said, talk about the operators and things, but uh, give you all that kind of that flexibility without you having to like roll your own from scratch.
Yeah, and so I would actually love to see, we've got about probably 25 minutes left here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'd love to see how this expands out. So as we're working on more parts of the UI,
Mm-hmm.
maybe we can add something that listens to events, and if we can set like a level. Like if it's under 5 boops, we'll say the boop level is low. If it's between 5 and 15, we can say it's average, and over 15, we'll say high or something like that.
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
so to do that, can we just create a whole new component?
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
okay, so let's yeah, I'm gonna need a lot of help here.
I got you.
All right.
So I think the quickest way, if we right click, well, no, that's probably be the using X, but we can go to the command line and just generate a component for the app that way.
Okay.
So if we do npx nx generate, and then we say component, and then you can give the component a name.
Give it a name of, let's call it boop level. Should it be like that?
I think that works.
Okay.
We'll see if it
Oh,
normalizes
cool.
the,
It
yeah.
it like kebab cased it for me.
Yep.
That's nice. All
Yeah. So
right.
if you, yeah, so we have the boop level counter there, or boop level component there, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
And then if we look at the component, it's similar setup there where we have the selector and it also gives you the tests and things there. So if we look at the selector and the component there, this one just has boop level works in there.
Mm-hmm.
So if we go back to the component, and you can copy that selector there, that reactive state NgRx boop level selector, and we can drop that into the app component.html, and that will at least give us the the component there.
Like that.
It'll be the open and close tags. It won't be self closing. Yep. So there you
Gotcha.
go.
Gotcha. Not self-closing. All right.
Yep. So that will give
Oh, and
us
then I got to restart it because we generated the component.
yeah. There you go. Yeah, so that will give us the component that we can kind of work around with to use what the use to share that value with this other component and kind of do things based off of that. Yep. So the
Okay.
loop level works. It still is all well and good, and
Yeah.
even the logic worked there for
Hey,
for
my
the.
really, really great code actually functioned appropriately.
So there you go. So
Okay, so
yes.
this is like that all makes sense. We've generated a new component, and now, and this is where I think you mentioned like convention and patterns. Like
Mhm.
now that I've seen this once in the app, I know exactly what to expect when I look into another component, and I know where things are going to go and all of
Yep.
those things. So the one thing I'm unclear on is the app component. We wrapped, we injected. Hold on, I can find it
Injected.
in the module. We added
Mhm.
the store and all this stuff, and now this is wrapped around our boop component. So does that mean that there's inheritance, or do we need to also bring in the store to the boop component?
Uh, you you do have to inject it into that component, but
Okay.
it is provided at the top level from the top level down. So the as you see, the boop level component is in the declarations of this component also. So it automatically gets,
Oh,
yeah. So yeah, the CLI did that for you as far as handling importing it, that
that's
importing or importing, adding it to the declarations.
got it.
But it
Okay.
has all the same access as the app component does at this
Okay.
level. This
Okay.
level.
So does that mean here that I
Yeah.
can,
So yep. So in there you can just use private again and store and just inject the store there.
that's
Yep.
coming out of
Import
this
that,
one. Yep. Okay.
and now you have access to the store there, and we can do some things in here with the count, and we'll use uh, depending on
Wait, is it
if we want to show, you can just declare it, yeah, directly in the class there. Yep, we can say this dot level, and for here, what you want to do, I guess. Tell me what you want to
my
listen to
think
that value and do something based on
yeah, my
that.
thinking so like if I just kind of pseudocode this out, if we've got our boops and let's say it's 10, right? We would do a
Mhm.
like if boops is less than or equal to 5,
Mhm.
um we'll say this dot level is low. Um,
Okay.
else if boops is greater than 5,
Mhm.
actually we could even just do like greater or equal to 15. You can say this dot level is high,
Mhm.
and then the last one would be else.
And then we just want to show that in the component, or just do
Yeah, I
something.
think we can just show the level. So if we set the level, then I can go to my component. I screwed it up,
Mhm.
and we can say is level, right? So
Yes.
I've made a mistake in my code down here that's causing it to fail. But this
Let's
is like,
see.
oh, I know why. It's because I have
Oh,
extra
yeah.
extra
There you
curlies.
go.
But so this is kind of the idea here. And
Mhm.
so we set it to 10, so it auto completes to average, and then if I set it to 17, it'll say high, and if I
Yeah.
set it to 4, it'll say low.
Okay. So
Right?
let's, yeah. So what we're gonna, so we'll do something similar. We'll subscribe to the value of the boops, and then we'll use an operator to map that value to the level. So we won't, in this case, we'll do this in a more reactive way.
Okay, great.
So we'll say this level. We'll start out with this dot level, and then we'll kind of move it, or sorry, this dot store,
Okay.
dot select, and then we'll just use the state again here, state, and then we'll do state, or you set state as any again here, and we'll, like I said, we're not having to go like full type safety and everything here.
Right.
We can wrap that state any in
Oh,
parentheses,
right.
yeah, and then say state dot boops. So that'll give us the value of the boops themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So what we want to do is, instead of saying, okay, well, we're still going to use some of the if logic here, but what we're going to do is add an operator, or kind of use a pipe in RxJS that will let us turn the current value of the boop into a string. So what we want to do next is, on the next line, you can use dot pipe. Uh, yes, and so this is a way that you can, and this is kind of where the extra parts come in of RxJS, to where you can use operators to perform basically function calls on the data that's coming through.
Okay.
So here, what we want to do is we want to map the value into a string, so we can bring in the map operator from RxJS. So if you just put map inside of there,
And we
and
want
that should be all lowercase. We may have to import it.
yeah, it
Maybe
looks like
quicker to
it's
just import it. So yeah.
Lots of options up here. So that
Yes.
was in effects.
Well, that will be from RxJS operator. So if we import map from RxJS/operators, and they've worked on this some more also out there, that plug out there, that they are looking to consolidate this down into just one import. But
Okay.
map itself is just a function. So what we want to do here is map, and it's just a callback function. So it'll be the current value of the boops, and then we can have a callback there, and then we can wrap that logic that you had into uh, put that logic into the function itself.
Okay. And then
And
get
so
rid of where I
instead
hard
of
coded it.
yeah, so
And
instead of setting the level, what we want to do here is return a new level. So operators, like I said, operators are just pure functions. So but what they do underneath is take in the current observable and return a new one. But since we're just
okay.
mapping to a new value, it'll just do that underneath for you.
Okay.
So now that we have that set up, what we want to do next is set the level to that store, set this dot level to that store.
Like that.
Yes. And then where we
What does
have
not like?
low, yeah, where we have low, observable, low, high, average. Yeah. It's telling us that that needs to be an observable. So you can take out that value there and we'll add a type to the level. So we just put a colon there. And we want to say that this is an observable of a string. Yep. So if we put observable there, and then it takes a type, and then you can take out, well, the value itself is just a string, but we want to observe. So you can take out the initial value. Yep.
Okay.
Just take that out, and it's probably complaining now that we have an uninitialized value. So if we put an exclamation at the end of level, then that should make it happy.
Okay.
So what we're saying is that level is an observable of a string. So this is going to be a value of that over time. And it's correctly telling us in the template that we haven't subscribed to this observable yet.
Got it.
So the thing in Angular that wires this up for us is the async pipe. And what the async pipe does is, like we mentioned before, we talked about subscribing to values or like returning or executing a promise. And what the async pipe in Angular does is it kind of creates this cycle in our template which is a little different than what we did in the other component, to where we actually did a dot subscribe and we listened to that value as it was being updated. So what we want to do is go to the template, and the async pipe itself will do that for us. So in the boop level component here, we want to use the async pipe. So if we do a space and do the pipe operator, and then use the async pipe there, yep. So it gives us some autocomplete there. So that will subscribe, or just say start listening to the value of our counter. So if we get to this, and this is kind of like I said, the reactive part of it. We set up something, we told it what we wanted it to do, and RxJS, like I said, it can be mind bendy at times, but in the end, we want to say that when I set up something, I do this, I want this to happen. And so, and you're, like I said, we've already wired it up, and this is what makes keeps Angular, or makes Angular more reactive in that sense, that we're just declaring what we want to happen. And then when the data is passed through there, then we get some result out of that. And we didn't have to say, okay, if this happens, then set this level, or if this happens, then set that level. We're just saying,
right.
We go through this pipeline.
So this is fully derived state, which I think is kind of nice, and it's very clearly derived from the value of state.boops, as opposed to something where, because what I feel like would have happened if it had been me is I would have done something like const boops equals this dot store, et cetera, to get to get to the boops value, and then more stuff happens, and then you're 20 lines later, and then you finally see this piece of logic that's like this dot level equals boops is greater than 5. So it's harder to track what's going on. This makes it very clear that what we're doing is we're taking something out of the store and deriving a value from it.
Right.
And I do like that. I think that's really nice to and we could even we could make this is just an arbitrary value, right? So I could even we can make that more descriptive.
Yep, that'll be just whatever however you set up the data, depending on the operators you use, would be how that comes out there. So yeah, definitely gives you that option to be as if you want to be verbose with the variables, or like set up your own kind of pipelines there. That's more of what where the power and the mind-bendy part of RxJS comes in at. And this is all just like I said, the state management part of NgRx. We also have we added the effects package, which is just more for side effects, but that would be another thing you could do if we were like dealing with HTTP calls and things like that. If you wanted to do something maybe with the DOM or let's maybe do that as a way to just to show how that works, because I do think that is one of the things that I struggle with a little bit, is when we start dealing with like two concepts of time flow. We've got the data, which is a stream over time, and then we have async calls happening that don't block the stream over time but have to interact with it. So maybe what we can do here is we can do something really simple, like if we clear a certain number of boops, we can send off a call to I think there's an API called like Icon has dad joke. Okay.
That it doesn't require authentication or anything, so we can just kind of hit it and get a, let's see, is there authentication? No authentication is required, so we can just hit any dad joke and we get one. Okay. So, and if we send that as accept application JSON, we'll get it back as JSON. Okay.
Okay.
So that'll work for us. And
yeah, so effects is a separate package, like I said, that we use for side effects, but it kind of integrates in with the store. So as we mentioned before, actions are dispatched and those cause state changes, but we can also use those to trigger side effects. So if we going to create a new file under boop level, we can create it there or create it at the top level folder, either way.
Okay, we'll just put the joke into the boop level component, why don't we? So that we don't have to create a full other component.
Okay, so we can name this boop level.effects.ts.
Okay.
Okay, so in here, effects themselves are similar to services, so they're just classes, but we want to declare them, we want to import the injectable token from Angular core. And this just tells us that this service can have something injected to it.
Okay.
So that injectable is a decorator, so we do @injectable. And just call that decorator as a function. Yep. And then we're going to export under that decorator, we're going to export a class, or for group level effects.
Okay.
Okay. So in here, what we want to do is we want to inject the action stream. So this is going to give us every action that is dispatched over the lifetime of the application. So we want to inject that into the constructor there. So if we type in constructor, and then we set that one to private, we're going to create another private variable there for actions. And the convention is use actions with $1 on the end of it. So if you come across another Angular app and it has that conventional, it just means that this is a stream of something.
Gotcha.
So this is a stream of action. So then we put the colon there, and then we want to bring in the actions import from NgRx effects.
Okay.
Yep, it'll be that one.
I don't know why that got included twice, but we'll.
Okay. So next we want to define, we can start out with the defining what the level is here, or create an effect that listens for all the actions, and then we can kind of bring in the state there. So we can say, call or make dad joke, I guess. And we can set that equal to, or this will be just a property on the class.
Oh, I gotcha. I gotcha.
Yeah. And then set that equal to create effect. Sorry. So create effect is another, like I said, all these things are functions. So it's a function that takes a callback. And what we want to do is return return this dot actions. And so we don't want to save this yet because it's gonna cause havoc. So
Okay.
So under that on line 12, if we after the end of that curly brace, we'll just start out with a comma, and we'll put an empty object there, and we'll set this to dispatch false. So we'll have a property in the name dispatch, and we'll set it to false.
Okay.
Yeah. So what that does is saying whenever this effect receives an action, we don't want to pump it back into the store.
Because otherwise we'd loop.
Yeah. Otherwise we loop. Yeah. So now if we look at the actions, we can use an operator on here again, or use a pipe on top of the action string.
Okay.
Yeah. So what we want to do is we want to get the, if I'm understanding correctly, we want to get the latest value from the store, and then use that value to determine whether we should make an API call. If that's right.
Right.
Okay. So we're going to get each action, and we may be a little into the weeds here, but we also want to get a value from the store. So we have another operator for that lets you get the latest value. So if you open up that pipe, and like I said, this is maybe one of the more mind-bending parts, but there's an operator called concat latest from.
And that comes out of RxJS?
It'll be an NgRx effects. Yeah. It'll be an NgRx effects like the other one. Yeah, okay. That's the one. So you can replace that one, the concat latest from, with that, or not concat latest from, yep. And then that one takes a callback.
Okay.
And so we'll need to inject the store also so we can get that data. So if we go back to the constructor and inject the store, and then
why didn't it
inject the store there, store service there.
There it is. Okay.
And from here, then we'll use that callback to get the latest value from the store. So we'll say this dot return, and you can return this dot store, and then we'll do the select again, because we're just going to keep it straightforward here. Select, and then state wrapped in parentheses.
That's right, because it needs to be in any.
Yeah. And like I said, normally we would have more type safety here. We would have more selectors and things, but that's at least what we need for now. So next, what we want to do is to make some decision off of that. So we don't want to dispatch that action. So we can just make this API call for now. So next, we'll put a comma there.
Here?
Yes. And then we'll use the tap operator. And like I said, there's many operators you can use RxJS, but we'll just use that one.
And tap is functional programming, which means we want to pull the value out without changing it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to say whatever comes through there, we're just going to use it and let it go. So
because we got the value of the stores, right? Then what's going to come back, what'll get passed in is the value of the store, which is our boop count. Is that correct?
Yes. Well, this one actually, it'll give you two things. It'll give you the action that was passed in, and the boop count, but it'll be in an array. So it'll give you those two things, wrapped in an array there.
Okay.
So next, we'll just say we want to, and this is where you can define your logic of how you want to how you want to make the API request.
Okay.
If you want to do that. So
Can I make this async? Does that work?
No, you don't. You don't have to make it. It'll be. You don't need to make it async. It'll be sync. It'll be just be synchronous at that point in time.
Okay. So fetch is async. So if I want to like get a response and await this, can I? Is it okay to make this one async? Is that going to break everything?
No, it won't. It won't break anything. You should be able to do that. Well, guess we don't. I'm just trying to think in more pipelines, so we can try it out, but I don't think it'll break it.
Okay, let's see how this goes.
But so tap is not expecting a promise there, so it will probably yell at you if you do that.
Okay, so I want to get my response, and then I guess we can just do it as like a promise chain, so we can.
Yeah. So the good part about that is RxJS supports promises, but yeah, we can just do this in line there. It's just like a because this is what we're doing here, side effects. We'll take that out.
And then the joke, let's go with full response, and we'll be able to set like, I guess we can just say dad joke equals.
Yeah, and like I said, we're just setting this. This is all happening like outside of the store. So if we wanted to pump this back into the store, then we would dispatch an action to do that. But we could just get the response there for this one.
And so if I set it like this, then, and I guess we can say if boop count is less than 10, we'll say, we'll just return. So must have 10 boops to ride. We're not going to use the action, so we can just leave the comma there to skip it. And then
so we need to so we got the effects registered, but we need to add them, or we need to register the effects so that they'll run whenever the actions are. Okay, so like I said, this is the mind-bending part. We haven't modified the store, so we'll need to update the store in order to update the dad joke. So this is happening outside of that loop. So in order, I think for an interest of time, we'll create one more action real quick, and we'll use that to see. We got to compile.
Well, so what I was thinking is if it should only trigger when we like increment, right? Or I guess if we increment or decrement above the value of 10.
Right. But the store, the dad joke is not defined in the store. So we'd have to put the dad joke property in the store to be able to read it.
Oh, I understand. I understand. Okay.
But yeah, we can see if we can crank that out really quickly here.
Yeah. Got like 2 minutes.
Okay. So we'll do it really quickly. Let's go to the actions, and in the boop actions right there. Yep. We'll just throw another action in there really quickly, and we'll say add dad joke.
Add dad joke. Got it.
And in the reducer, we'll use that in the boop.reducer, we'll add that dad joke.
Okay, so in the reducer, we will
we'll say
add dad joke.
And we'll set this back, or sorry. I don't think we're gonna run out of time because we got to change the state and we can do that.
Oh, we can do it. We can do it. Okay, so
let's do it. Okay, count and then joke. Yep, and we'll set that to a string, and then we'll say return. Yep, state.count. We'll have to return a new object there.
What don't you like? What don't you like?
Okay, in the boop added, we'll return an object there. We'll have to return an object. Or sorry, in the reducer, we'll return an object. Yeah, we got to return an object and then set those two values. So it'll be return state count equals 0, and then count equals state.1, and then that joke equal to empty. So yeah, like I said, this is part of, like I said, part of the what we run into, and then in the boop added, we'll also have to update that one too, to return the count and the joke. So yeah, that one will be, yep, state count.
Oh wait, but I got to make this actually.
Yeah, you can probably just wrap that in parentheses. Yep, there you go.
Okay, so that's in parentheses. It doesn't, like, this one does not exist on. Oh, because it's joke, not dad joke.
Oh, right. Yep,
Right,
there you go.
right. Okay, so I can fix all of these. Huh?
Oh, there you go. Got
Right. Okay, so then we've got
some
on add dad joke.
Yep, and then just return. We can set this to a value, return an object, and then we set the count
Will be
equal to
state.count.
Yeah, and then joke will be whatever we wanted to dispatch from the store here. And on line 18, we're missing a comma there.
Oh, right.
For the on handler.
So whatever we wanted to dispatch, it can just be like an empty string or something?
Well, yeah, it could, if we wanted to set a string that was coming from the action, so we can do that in the action really quickly here. Or yeah, you can set it to a loading, but this would be whatever the response that comes back from the action is.
Oh, I got you. So what comes back from the action is going to be
in the boop actions, boop.actions.ts. Yep.
Right.
We would add an argument on the end of create action called props. So they'll just be import props. So if you type in lowercase props, yep, and import that, and that'll be a function that we call, and then you would give that props a type of what we want to add to the action. So we would just say joke, or sorry, after props, we would add right before you call it, right before you call that method, you would do the type there, yep, or add the open and closing arrows.
Got it.
Yeah, and then that'll be an object, and then we just say joke is an empty curly brace object, and then we just say joke is a string.
Sorry, you got to define
it. Oh, yep. Type an empty object
like that.
Yep, and then we say joke is a string inside of there.
Okay, I understand. This is
yeah.
We're outside, like types like that are not my native language.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got that.
Yep. So then in the reducer, now we can say that joke will be we'll bring in the action next to the state there.
Next to the state.
Yep.
Okay.
And then we'll say action or joke is action.joke, because it should give us some complete auto completion there.
Okay. And so then up here in our effect, we need to, when this is done, we need to dispatch.
Yes. So we could do this a couple of ways. You could dispatch it, I guess, in interest of time, we'll dispatch the add joke, and then send the joke along with it.
Okay. So this dot store dispatch, and we'll say add dad joke, and then we're going to pass in.
Well, you'll call it like a function. You'll call add dad joke like a function, and then you'll you'll create an object inside of add dad joke, and then you'll set the joke with the property of string or property of the response. So it'll be joke : response.
Like, because it's an object, right? Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
So theoretically speaking, this works.
Well, we have to wire the effects up first. So that'll be the last part. So if we go back to the app module really quickly.
App module.
Yep. And then we type in effects under store dev.instrument. We type in effects module for root. We still use that same convention.
Okay.
And then that'll be an array inside of there.
Okay.
And then we'll use the boop level effects, or the boop level effects class. So that registers the effects that we created.
Nope, doesn't like something.
Okay, so let's see. Let's go back to the serve here really quickly.
To the which one?
Or the command line. I guess we were serving the app and see where.
Error occurs in the template of component boop level component. doesn't like dad joke. That's because it's not called dad joke anymore. It is called joke.
Okay, so
No, it's
yep, in
not.
the
What is it called?
okay, so we have to we'll define it. So in the boop level component .ts,
Boop level component TS.
yep, we will define a property in there called joke. Yep, and then we'll say we'll set that equal to this dot store dot select. We'll want to remove the string type there, so it'll just infer the type for you. Yeah. So
That's
we'll say
easier.
this dot store. Yep. And then we'll use state any, and then we'll say state dot. Well, this would be state dot count state dot boops dot joke because we had to change it to an object.
Gotcha.
And we'll probably have to update that.
Okay, and then we need to make that one into async, right?
Yes, it'll be in the boop level component. Yep, async pipe there.
Holy crap. Okay, so it's working, but I'm now DDoSing this thing. What's my boop level? Oh, my boops are now boop level.
Well, let's see if we
because we busted that. Let's go to the component itself, the HTML. And so this one is no longer the count. It's
yeah, you have to update it in it'll be state.count.boops.
This
on line 17.
State.count 17. Boops.count.
Or count.boops.
Boops.count. Okay. So it's still running without.
Let's see. Let's go back. Oh, okay. Let's go back in
less than
here.
10.
I think did we take the dispatch false off there?
Dispatch false is here.
Okay, it's still there. Okay, let's go up to.
Is our boop count coming in? Does it need to be like boop count.count?
Yes.
Okay.
Because that'll be.
There we go. Go up to 10. And okay, so it starts to explode. So we need like an escape hatch that, like, if we've already requested it, we would set a flag. That's fine. Yeah. We're over time. So yeah. So let's do this. And instead of this is good enough, right? Like, we proved that it works. We would need to set like a flag in here that said, if a joke hasn't been requested, and then do another check that if we go below 9 to clear that flag. That part's just logic. I get that part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But this is super powerful stuff. So if somebody wants to learn more, where should they go next?
Yeah. So if you want to learn more about NgRx, you can go to ngrx.io. We have docs there that show you kind of walk through the whole ecosystem of libraries here. We talked about store and effects. Mm-hmm. There are other libraries for, like, say, if we wanted to do more granular local state, there's component store for that. And also ones for hooking in with the Angular router, and managing collections is another one that we have there. And even ones for if you're managing a lot of collections and you want all that kind of that data wrapped up for you, there's NgRx data there. So we got
lots of stuff. Yeah,
a lot of stuff that you can choose depending on what your how much you want to get out of the platform.
Great. And if you want to ask questions directly to the maintainer, go follow Brandon on Twitter. And let me do a quick shout to our live captioning, Rachel, who is staying late with us today. Thank you so much, Rachel. I'm sorry for going over. She's here from White Coat Captioning. White Coat Captioning is made possible through the generous support of our sponsors. We've got Netlify, Fauna, Hasura, and Auth0 all chipping in to make this show more accessible to more people. And make sure while you're checking out the homepage, you also head over to that schedule. We have so much good stuff coming up. We're coming back on Thursday. We're going to figure out how to bring any data source into GraphQL using StepZen with Carlos Eberhardt. Make sure you come and check that one out. Click this add on Google Calendar button. Get it added to your Google Calendar. It doesn't take your email or anything. It's just letting you know when things are happening. Dang. All right. Lightning round exit. Brandon, anything you want to add before we call this one done?
Yeah, sure. I want to give a quick shout out here. We are, like we talked about NX at the Jump here. We're doing a conference for NX. NX Conf is September 16th and 17th. You can go to nx.dev/conf to find out more about that. feel free to, it's free. Got to throw that out there too. So feel free to register that ticket if you want to learn more about NX and how you can build some cool stuff with that. So definitely check that out.
Excellent. All right. On that note, we're going to call this one done. Chat, stay tuned. We're going to go raid TypeScript tea time. And Brandon, thank you so much for all of your time today. Really appreciated it. We will see y'all next time.
Thanks.